Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 9:26 a.m. East Coast time, December 1st, 2024. We are looking at the worthless 1 hour loop that Wendy.com now gives you, which is actually about a 35-minute loop since it does not work the last half of it. Never. It used to be a 2 hour loop, but no more. And I pay for premium, but this is also for the people that doesn't. They have no data anymore. 6 hour loops usually very manipulated looking because it's the same time frame over 6 hours, so you really don't get much data. But this morning, to me, it looks like very heavy chemtrails hidden in this cloud deck, which consists of many different chemicals. Today, I'm going to show you that the United States has been experimenting on its people for a very long time. It is very much legal for our government to experiment on its own people. But in my opinion, these straight line clouds looks like Tennessee, which has outlawed geoengineering, but they are still being sprayed. You cannot stop these lunatics with state individual laws, but it is nice that it is recognized on a federal level. The ripples that are going on here is from a machine. It does not move. All the machines are working together with the chemtrails as an electrical device that conducts electricity for the wireless energy that moves the weather wherever they like. These machines are turned on. They do not fluctuate. They do not move. They consist as one, your NEXRAD radar systems, your 5G HARP towers that you call cell phone, and weather controlling satellites that we call Starlinks. 42,000 satellites soon to be. Right now, they just got a little over 7,000 satellites up. That is not for internet in the open ocean, my friend. Not its main purpose. In Florida, right this second, it will be a repeat of yesterday. I want to show you where these compounds are created when they have pathogens in it. Fort Detrick's always been a biological weapons center. I have a video going back to the 50s that explains it, and the U.S. Air Force from the 50s where they talk about spraying population over the United States. And I have hours of, look how manipulated 6 hours is. And I have hours of videos of the government apologizing for these experiments. If y'all stay tuned, I'll try to add them to it. Sometimes I forget what to add, I've so much going on here. I went fishing last night. I rode 15 miles of shoreline, did not see any fish, none, not whatsoever. We have lost our ocean. And today I will be rebuilding my mom's house. So I have a full day. I'm going to leave you with this information. Thank you to everyone that has contributed to my mom's platform and has given us hope that we can rebuild her house very soon. FEMA is not really helping her, and I hear they're taking people's homes if they have more than 50% damage of the value of their house. They're not going to rebuild at all, which we're not going to stand for that. I do not sit idly by while my planet is being destroyed by lunatics. Mad scientists is a real term, my friends. Our government has no problem spraying us. They have been the whole time from the 1940s. Is absolutely correct. Somebody reposted. I could show you plenty of films. I don't have a lot of time today, but watch this. This is where your COVID-19 was supposed to come out in December of 2018. They delayed it for 12 months. I knew that within a couple weeks of the actual thing that was going on. COVID-19 never made sense. It came out in 2020. You know what I'm saying? They never changed the name of it. It was planned. Everything is planned. Everything down to your next football game is planned. And your next argument's already planned out. Watch this incredible video. Truly amazing and terrifying because I love eggs and they're very healthy, but why are they injecting eggs with a hypodermic needle? You would never notice this in an egg. all of our eggs may be contaminated. This is in the 1950s. Please watch this terrifying true story from the U.S. government. They stopped informing the people of their operations in 1965 because after they killed Kennedy, no one ever went against the CIA ever again. Watch this incredible, insane mad scientist story.
Not very far from Edgewood, in historic Frederick, Maryland, are the biological warfare laboratories. Here, men and women of science are doing basically the same type of work as in other government, university, and industrial laboratories. A combination of medical and public health research. While I was at Fort Detrick, I was able to follow partway through an experiment to determine the effectiveness of an agent. Volunteers are important to the testing picture. For many years, information has been needed on the effect of a biological warfare attack on man, so that we can have a better understanding of how to defend ourselves against it. The volunteers were a picked group. They had received psychiatric interviews to determine their maturity and reliability, as well as mental outlook. Medical histories and laboratory checks on the volunteers had been extremely stringent. Any history of a chronic disease, any allergic reaction or nervous disorder was a cause for rejection. Volunteers were given the opportunity to drop out at any time. I was to watch the progress of the experiment from the control room. The volunteers had been positioned in cubicles on the outside of the test sphere, a hollow steel ball 40 feet in diameter, in which a cloud of biological warfare agent can be generated. Through a series of controllable valves and a face mask, it was possible to expose a person in each cubicle to a measured volume of biological aerosol from the sphere. I said before I was able to follow part way through the experiment, the final part. As was expected, the volunteers were temporarily incapacitated, but within a short time they were up and around, completely recovered. They had the satisfaction of having played an important part in obtaining information, which would immediately be given to the Public Health Service to bolster our defenses against disease. Research has led to many scientific findings beneficial to mankind, such as a perfected vaccine for controlling industrial anthrax, a usually fatal disease of cattle and sheep. Still another accomplishment, protective devices for the safe handling of disease-causing microorganisms and their harmful products. Just a few of the many byproducts of biological warfare research.
At the U.S. Army Chemical Corps Proving Ground, tests were conducted using an F-100 aircraft equipped with an experimental spray device developed by one of the large aviation companies. One purpose of these tests was to establish the feasibility of producing BW aerosols in the most effective particle size range as a low-level line source from high-speed aircraft. Wind tunnel tests had shown that effective aerosols could be produced by discharging the BW agent into a high-velocity airstream. To confirm the wind tunnel test data, an aerial mission was conducted using a BW incapacitating agent. Flying at subsonic speed, the F-100 disseminated the liquid agent along a 15-mile line upwind of the test grid. Data from these tests were used to determine the effective coverage that could be expected with an operational type spray system employing the basic principles of the experimental device. This study showed that one fighter aircraft flying on the deck and dispensing 2 wing tanks of a liquid BW agent would cause infection in more than 50% of the populace in an area 125 miles long by 30 miles deep. 3 large aircraft could release sufficient agent to infect over 50% of the people in an area equivalent to a belt 140 miles wide, extending from New York to Chicago, comparable to the total area of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana.
When the COVID-19 began sweeping across the U.S., New York City quickly became epicenter of the outbreak.
We are dying. I feel like a sheep going to slaughter.
Some 240 miles away, in a quiet town in Maryland, is Fort Detrick, where the U.S. government conducts experiments on dangerous pathogens, including close siblings of the novel coronavirus. As a military research base studying infectious diseases, its history has been enshrouded in much secrecy. In 1942, it became the birthplace of America's secret biowarfare research facility. Bacteria studied in the biological warfare labs at Fort Detrick included anthrax, a deadly and highly infectious agent. During World War II, the US government ordered 1 million anthrax bombs from the base. When the Cold War began, the CIA used the base to conduct secret mind control experiments on humans that often involved unwitting American citizens and Soviet prisoners. Shielded behind national security, military scientists freely tested cruel and illegal procedures on human subjects while searching for truth serum, as well as other drugs used in assassinating foreign leaders. In the end, the project ended in abysmal failure and it was shut down by the US government in the 1970s.
All right, that was the U.S. military admitting they were learning how to spray pathogens.
This video here was from a few months back, maybe even last year. I don't remember when I touched this, but that was spraying over Indiana. Well, it's no different than what's going on in Florida right this minute, in my opinion. Let's check out some pathetic apologies from these mad lunatics. Well, I guess Bill Clinton must have been the year of the apologies, because I got Bill Clinton apologizing for radiation treatments in 1995.
Vigilantly.
I got Mr. Bill Clinton apologizing for the Syphilis Medical Experiments for the black community for 40 years they did on them. And he apologizing for secret military experiments also on this one. I mean, these people are evil in so many ways, but why would they have this man apologizing, one of the most pathetic liars in ever recorded history? Why would they have him? Because he's so good at it? Watch how good at it he is. These are pathological liars. They have no conscience. I cannot read them. Any human I can literally walk up to, have a conversation, and realize if they're lying to me or not, because your eyes don't lie. You cannot hide your lying eyes unless you're a pathological liar. This is radiation experiments. It's 2 minutes long. Let's listen to their pathetic apologies. They do not care about us. Sorry, they make me very angry, these people do. Volume up.
But it is a very, very important piece of America's history, and it will shape America's future in ways that will make us a more honorable, more successful, and more ethical country. What this committee learned, I would like to review today with a little more detail than Dr. Faden said, because I think it must be engraved on our national memory. Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. While most of the tests were ethical by any standards, some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. In one scientist injected plutonium into 18 patients without their knowledge. In another, doctors exposed indigent cancer patients to excessive doses of radiation, a treatment from which it is virtually impossible that they could ever benefit. The report also demonstrates that these and other experiments were carried out on precisely those citizens who count most on the government for its help, the destitute and the gravely ill. But the dispossessed were not alone. Members of the military, precisely those on whom we and our government count most, they were also test subjects. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment. And that was wrong.
I tell you the truth, this one here is 15 minutes long, and it makes me angry, my friends. These men, and most likely women, thought they were getting medical help from our government, and they were given syphilis, is what I read in the history papers. These people saying they already had it and they just didn't treat it. But these people, in my opinion, what I learned, that they gave this community syphilis to see the effects on the black community. This is evil people, and we are still dealing with these mad scientist lunatics paying off our politicians. Greed will destroy us all. No matter what, greed will be our downfall. Enjoy this, pathetic people. I just want you to know the truth. Enjoy knowing the truth. There we go.
6 decades ago, indifference and injustice combined to begin to write one of the most shameful chapters in the history of American medicine. Of course, the infamous project called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. In 1932, America's Public Health Service set out to study syphilis, but it pursued this worthy goal in a manner that was irredeemably cruel. Several hundred African American men the Public Health Service recruited at churches and clinics and farms were used in the study. Most of these men had syphilis. None of them knew their bodies harbored this disease. And then the Public Health Service followed the men's lives, watched how the disease developed, all the while withholding medicine, withholding treatment of any kind for these innocent American citizens. Medical professionals willingly, intentionally let human beings suffer from a treatable and then later a curable illness. These researchers knew that mercury and arsenic compounds could treat the disease, but the Tuskegee men did not receive the medicine. Later, the researchers knew that penicillin could cure the disease, but again, the Tuskegee men did not get the medicine. They didn't get treated until the 40-year study was discovered and stopped amid public outcry in 1972. It was a disgraceful episode for American science. We feel the repercussions still, tremors of distrust that have not yet disappeared. To this day, the Tuskegee study makes some Americans think twice about donating blood or taking their children for vaccinations or signing an organ donor card. But out of this sad incident, we can learn and we can find healing. And we can vow that such hideous episodes will never occur again. The relentless pursuit of scientific truth is a noble endeavor, but not so noble that it exempts us from our deeper obligations to be moral and just, to revere the sanctity of the lives of our fellow men and women. The ultimate purpose of science is to improve human lives. Science and technology can be powerful forces for good, and usually are. They've cured diseases, built economies, helped to narrow the distance of time and space. In the 21st century, as the march of new discoveries picks up even more speed, we must be vigilant about making certain science and technology always remain positive forces in American life. So today, the nation, under President Clinton's leadership and at his initiative, finally does the right and the honorable thing. It is now my pleasure to introduce and bring to the microphone one of the people who has led this effort that has brought us here today, the distinguished director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. David Satcher.
All these long years. The 8 men who are survivors of the syphilis study at Tuskegee are a living link to a time not so very long ago that many Americans would prefer not to remember, but we dare not forget. It was a time when our nation failed to live up to its ideals, when our nation broke the trust with our people that is the very foundation of our democracy. It is not only in remembering that shameful past that we can make amends and repair our nation, but it is in remembering that past that we can build a better present and a better future. And without remembering it, we cannot make amends and we cannot go forward. So today, America does remember the hundreds of men used in research without their knowledge and consent. We remember them and their family members, men who were poor and African American, without resources and with few alternatives. They believed they had found hope when they were offered free medical care by the United States Public Health Service. They were betrayed. Medical people are supposed to help when we need care, but even once a cure was discovered, they were denied help and they were lied to by their government. Our government is supposed to protect the rights of its citizens. Their rights were trampled upon. 40 years, hundreds of men betrayed, along with their wives and children, along with a community in Macon County, Alabama, the city of Tuskegee, the fine university there, and the larger African American community. The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. It was an outrage to our commitment to integrity and equality for all our citizens. To the survivors, to the wives and family members, the children and the grandchildren, I say what you know. No power on earth can give you back the lives lost, the pain suffered, the years of internal torment and anguish. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
I am going to stop him right there. There is no sorry in those eyes. Looking at the face of evil, my friends, and I'm not calling this man evil, I'm talking about the system. These people never cared about the black community that they hurt, and they still do not today. really good information here from Ice Cube. Bill Maher and him was having a conversation, the influence of the children with music, and the people that creates our music owns the prisons, and you wonder why so many of my friends are dead from drugs, done prison, or mindless creatures now from drugs. Sad. Think about what we once were. They cannot tell the full truth here, or he wouldn't have made it home either. But listen to this. You can read between the lines if y'all would understand where I'm headed here.
Good morning, freedom fighters. Really great video from Bill Maher, however you say his name there, and Ice Cube, somebody I've always thought highly of. Well, he's coming out some real truth. Most people do not realize that Bob Barker, yes, Bob Barker from The Price of Right, is one of the largest private prison owners in the United States. If you go to prison and you wear clothes from prison or brush your teeth with the prison toothbrushes, it has Bob Barker's name written on every single product. Stand by. Bob Barker supplies the government. He bought a company in 1982 as a prison supply company, and he is one of the largest private prison owners now. Ice-T here is going to talk about how the government influences the rap, and these people actually own the prisons that they are putting these children in. Very, very important video here. And just like Prince, I would not expect for him to live very long, this fellow right here. I really hate to say that, but Prince was murdered. He did not die of an overdose. Commercial fisherman standing by. I want you to watch the video.
Okay, not Ice-T. That's something I like, but that's Ice Cube. Ice-T probably slapped me silly for saying that. Probably Ice Cube would slap me afterwards. But you don't have to correct me. I know that's Ice Cube and not Ice-T. Just wanted to straighten that up. Stand by.
Nah.
No.
You know, it's weird how the names are always changing every like 20 or 30 years. Somebody wants to put a new label on the same thing.
You mean ethnic names?
Yeah. You know,
right.
It seems like, you go from this to that and the other.
Right.
At the end of the day. And
people of color used to be, reversed 50 years ago.
Yeah, and it's just done to really keep us bickering and, chasing these words.
Okay,
not really getting to the root of the issues, which are most of the time very common if we really go down to the root of it.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
But you said it's being done to divide us. Okay, by who? Who's doing it?
Well, who benefits and profits off our bickering and our division?
Who?
It's like follow the money. I don't know their names, Bill, but if you follow the money, you go high enough, you start to see, okay, this is an industry. Okay, let's take rap music.
Let's take it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. So,
literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. So, it seems really kind of suspicious, if you want to say that word, that, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Certain flavors are exposed on the record. You know, some records are made by committee. Meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics. We're gonna have that. So the narrative is really kind of, you know, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be, and what the, you know, a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. You know, a lot of people, you know, feel like they're being controlled by the label. This is how they do it. So you have, you know, the record company pushing the narrative, you know, and you know, so this to me is in somewhat, you know, some social engineering going on here to make sure those prisons stay full. Now, there's a lot of dots to connect to make that happen, but I'm just giving you a broad example of how people at the top can manipulate what's going on with the people who are bickering and fighting. I just gave you a music example, but there's examples of race.
Can I cross-examine this theory?
Of course you can cross-examine, of course.
No, I know, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your theory is that the prison industrial complex, and I agree, that's an abomination. We'll start off with there. Prison should, I've done editorials on this on my show. Prison is one of those things that should not be in private hands.
Yes.
Along with healthcare, a few other things that are like, you know, the good part of socialism. They should not be run by people for profit. I agree with that.
Yes.
I did not know about this connection to the music industry, that it's the exact same people. If by that you mean that the people who run the record companies may have stock in prisons, private prisons, that's possible because they all have stock. I mean, do they actually, like, Monday, Tuesday go to work as a record company executive and Wednesday through Friday go to work at the prisons? No.
Okay,
so
of course they're not actually running the labels.
They have financial interest in it.
They have financial interest.
Okay, so if they have financial interest in the prisons, and your theory, if I'm following correctly, is that the kind of stuff in rap lyrics works as a funnel to get people inspired to do the kind of things that would get them in prison, right? Like, for example, writing a lyric, fuck the police.
Yeah, I mean, writing a lyric, fuck the police,
might get somebody arrested and sent to prison.
That might get somebody arrested and sent to prison. That's just one example, one record that the record company did not manipulate. You know, that's pure artistry.
Right.
But I've seen labels. I've worked with artists.
Did they manipulate you?
No. I'm
Never.
I'm an independent artist. Always have been. I started off on independent labels.
So how were you able to avoid this trap that so many others fell in?
I'm going to say it again because I don't know if I had my mute off, but I know this is not iced tea. That's something I love to drink, and this is Ice Cube, obviously. I tried to apologize for my mistake I've seen in this video. But they control every bit of the narrative. Everything's an illusion, my friends. Our life is an illusion. But what's not an illusion is that the machine is turned on. I'm going to leave that with y'all for today. They are chemtrailing right this minute in Florida. Expect some videos as I go work on my mom's house. And I appreciate the donations. I see that I have one for Real Fishing Life, and I see that I have two for my mom. I am going to go buy material as we speak. Thank you to the Warriors at 35 minutes. And please stop spraying us with geoengineering chemicals and everything else, biological weapons. Please. There's aircraft everywhere here. It has nothing to do with anything natural. These ripples are not going anywhere soon. Commercial fishermen standing by. This is a worldwide event. Greece is being flooded if y'all haven't noticed. Commercial fishermen out.